Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Dr. David Hooper, and today we are getting icy cold. How's your week going, though? Before we get into this, how is June going? It is incredible how quick this year is going, but don't panic. There is still so much time for you to crush the rest of your goals. And today I'm going to talk about one habit that I've implemented into my life over the past few weeks, and it's really changed my life so far, and it is the daily cold plunge. Now, disclaimer, I'm not coming at this from an ego perspective. I'm not saying, look how tough I am because I go in a cold plunge. It's not about saying do this for physical benefits, particularly, like for recovery, things like that. I am talking about how this has helped me deal with my anxiety. So I think I've mentioned this a couple of times on the pod that over the past 12 months, I've suffered really badly with anxiety and panic attacks. And it's all down to feeling like I'm running out of time. And when I feel like I'm running out of time, I get panicked and I make stupid decisions, and it was not a good place to be. So again, just for complete transparency, because I really hope this helps other people, I found myself crying just by myself, multiple occasions. I would just go and find Luna and just cuddle into her for hours at a time. Bless her. She was like my emotional support dog. And then it all came to a head when I tried to use exercise as a way to deal with my anxiety. So as you all know by now, I'm a fairly competent runner in terms of, I run quite often and I'm not particularly elite or anything. But I used to go for a run and come home and then feel a little bit better. So anyway, I went on this run. It was a 12-mile run, and whenever I run, I always do half the amount out and then half the amount back. So for a 12-mile run, I would run 6 miles out, 6 miles back. You get the picture. And anyway, I found myself crying for the full 6 miles, the full first half of my 12-mile run, and I was like, what is going on? And I was starting to have some really dark thoughts. I was like, should I just end things because I don't think I am having the impact on this world that I know I should be having? Would life be better if I wasn't here? Because, I wasn't in a great place at home. I felt like I was bringing Laura down. I wasn't enjoying my work. I wasn't really feeling like I understood what my purpose was. And this was before thoughts of the podcast. This was before thoughts of starting my own business. This was me just feeling completely and utterly lost. And it is one of the worst places I think I've ever been in. I did a podcast last week that touched on my journey when I was morbidly obese and clinically depressed. This was completely different. I was in great shape this time. I wasn't depressed. I was anxious and I was having panic attacks daily, multiple times a day. I thought I had asthma, and I got new inhalers and things like that, and they weren't doing anything. And it turns out I wasn't having problems with my asthma. I was having panic attacks. And it was like, wow, this is crazy that this is going on. Anyway, so I did that run. I got to the halfway point of that run, gave my head a wobble, as we say in the Northeast, and said, you know what, no more crying on this run. Go back, sort yourself out. And I did. And I remember actually that happened a few times. The second one was my brother-in-law's wedding. It was a lovely day, but on the morning of the wedding, again, I had a 12-mile run planned, and I did 6 miles out, and I cried for the first 6 miles. And then I did 6 miles back, pulled myself together, had an amazing time at their gorgeous wedding. But it was like, what is going on? And I would just shut down, and I would just stop talking, and it was like I'd switched off. And Laura got really good at acknowledging or noticing that. We tried to talk about what the future held for me, and if she said the wrong word, I wouldn't like blow up or get angry. I would just lock down. I'd stop talking. I would start to look at the floor. I would get tired. I'd have my inhaler a lot of times. And it was all these anxiety attacks, these panic attacks. And it was a really, truly horrible place that I was in. So fast forward a few months, I launched the podcast. I love it. It's given me purpose. Brilliant, brilliant way to spend my time, that's for sure. And it's going to be something that I think I'm going to probably do forever. I love it that much. And I still had anxiety because the podcast isn't a business. It could be, I'd like to think that I'll grow it into a something. It's still, I'd like to get together and have like events and coaching through it maybe, or apparel, or who knows. For now, it's just a podcast, and it's just something, it's like a hobby really. And my anxiety came back because I wanted to start a business, but it wasn't the right time. So I was still having these panic attacks. And I had a coffee with a friend of mine, James Hutchinson, who's going to be a guest on the show in a few weeks, I'm sure. And he told me all about his lack of caffeine and the fact that he'd had anxiety and switched on to decaf coffee, and he'd really improved. And this guy is killing it, by the way. He changed careers. He's now a financial advisor, and wow, his story is unbelievable. And I'm not gonna tell you too much because he's on in a few weeks' time. But he said, I swapped to decaf, and I'm doing this podcast, and I am 12 weeks without caffeine in my body. I do have like Coke Zeros and like, that type of thing, but no coffees, no monsters, just decaf coffee. So that was one of the things that helped, definitely. And although I don't get the buzz off caffeine anymore, I definitely feel less anxious. And if you're struggling with anxiety, I would definitely recommend having a little reflect on if you're drinking too much caffeine. Because I was drinking so much caffeine. It wasn't rare that I would drink 2 or 3 monsters a day or have 7 or 8 coffees a day. And I used to have tablespoons worth of coffee, rather not just a teaspoon. Absolutely crazy, because I was just searching for that buzz, but it didn't come. Anyway, I still felt anxious, and I had a meal with my great friend Rob Sanders. Again, he's coming on the podcast shortly. And part of his training to get in the fire service was dealing with kind of enclosed spaces, things like that. And Rob found himself getting a bit anxious, and he used a cold plunge to deal with that anxiety, and it worked a treat. And now he's, again, absolutely killing it. So he said, you should get a cold plunge and try it as well. And I've always wanted to be that guy, from an ego perspective, who gets up, gets in the ice bath, not a problem. But really, I never thought I could do it, if I'm being completely honest, because I didn't think I was mentally strong enough to do it. And we ordered this ice bath, I think it was in April, and it had been sitting in our office for a month or two, partly because I was putting off opening it, but also partly we were just crazy busy. Laura had her exams, I had work and starting the business and the podcast, and we were both trying to lose weight and live our lives and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, fast forward to May, and we go on this holiday, and I decided to get control of my anxiety once and for all. I was going to do the cold plunge. So for those people who don't know what a cold plunge is, it basically involves you immersing yourself in cold water, usually between 10 to 15 degrees for a short period of time, usually a couple of minutes. anywhere between 2 minutes and 10 minutes. And it can be done in a bathtub, or it can be, I've got one of these like Lumi pools, kind of, they're like a mini jacuzzi almost, like a barrel. It can be in a cold body of water. It doesn't really matter as long as it's cold water. And it isn't just for like athletes or thrill seekers. It's accessible to anyone who wants to embrace a bit of discomfort for fairly significant rewards. There's lots of benefits, but I'll get to those in a minute. But was it almost made me more anxious setting this thing up. But anyway, we did, and we put it up and we filled it with cold water. And you can watch me, by the way, do my cold plunges. I have them on my TikTok at Dr. David Hooper. I've also launched a new TikTok just for my ice baths. It's called at Geordie Iceman. And you'll see me grimace, that's for sure, because it's cold. It's not an easy thing to do. But I have been doing it, and I'm currently saying that doing this podcast, I'm on day 13. So nearly 2 weeks in. And my plan is to literally never miss a day in my life. I'm sure there's going to be times where I'm going to have to like go in a cold shower or, think on my feet or go in the sea or something. But my plan is to never miss a day ever again. And I'm on day 13. So far, so good. But what are some of the benefits to cold plunges? There's obviously the physical stuff. So things like improved circulation. The cold exposes the blood vessels to constrict and then dilate. So they're like opening and closing almost, which helps improve that circulation and cardiovascular health. The next one is enhanced recovery. So if you're an athlete, or if you just want to improve your recovery for the gym, or just feel a little bit better, it can reduce muscle soreness and inflammation, and it can flush out lactic acid and decrease swelling. So that's pretty good, isn't it? It can boost your immunity. So regular cold exposure has been shown to increase the number of white blood cells, which strengthens the immune system. So, that sounds pretty good to me. And then the thing that I got excited about when I read up on it, there's mental health benefits. So cold water immersion triggers the release of endorphins and other neurotransmitters that can improve your mood and reduce symptoms of depression and anxiety. So that was the first one for me. If there was any way that I could improve my anxiety, I was going to do it. And if that was dunking myself in a cold plunge every morning for a couple of minutes, that sounded good to me. And then the last one was, again, something that jumped out as part of who I think I am, was increased resilience. Regularly facing the discomfort of cold water can increase your mental toughness and resilience, helping you handle other challenges in life with greater ease. Now, that really is where my interest lies with the cold plunge. Do I want the health benefits? Of course. Great. But this is all about me taking back control of my life and being disciplined and focused and consistent and being somebody who does exactly what they say they're going to do. So part of the reason I'm doing this podcast, this episode, is because I want you to all know that I plan to do my cold plunge every day for the rest of my life. I am trying to be so open and honest with you, and it's a bit of accountability as well. But when it comes to that increased resilience, imagine being stressed at work, but then thinking back and going, well, I was in a cold plunge this morning. Like, that was a lot easier than this phone call I'm about to make, So if you're doing this horrendous thing early morning and getting it done, to be honest, it doesn't matter if it's early morning, just during your day, it's definitely the hardest thing that you will do that day. And the other thing that I found is it doesn't get easier. I was hoping that it was going to get easier, but nope. Every morning there is two or 3 minute battle in my head where I'd say, do I really want to go in? Do I really want to go in? You know, the honeymoon period's gone. That first week, I was like, oh yeah, look at me. I'm getting in the ice bath, taking the days off. But then I think it was around day 4 where I was like, do I really want to go in this? Like, do I want to go sit in the north of England outside in a cold bucket of water? And to be honest, the answer's like, yeah, even though I know I'm going to do it. And it's non-negotiable. It's not a negotiation. I know I'm going in. I have developed this ability to lock in with things like this. It's similar when I'm dieting. If we say there's no takeaways, that means there's no takeaways for the diet, the period that we're dieting. And that's a skill that I've been able to develop. When it comes to your mental toughness, think about the value that it's bringing. And also think about how it could set you up for the most incredible day. So yeah, I'll bring it back to that old saying where it's eating your frog. So the term eating your frog means you're doing the thing that you hate most first and getting it done so that you can go and enjoy the rest of your day, basically. And when you are in the cold plunge, early doors, and it's done, you'll feel incredible. Not just the health benefits, but the mindset benefits as well. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to get a handle on because I wanted to feel more in control. My panic attacks were down to me feeling like I was not in control and that time was escaping me and getting away from me and that I had very little choice in the matter. But this has showed me that I can be in control. I can stay calm. I can stay focused. I can be in the moment and I can be somebody who does exactly what they say they're going to do. And I know that if I do exactly what I say I'm going to do, I can completely change my life just like you can. And that means turning up for business when I launch it, and I can show up in a way and be the type of person that I know I am really deep down. And I think I may be lost in 2022, 2023. So, you know, I've had some huge setbacks I haven't really talked about on this podcast yet. You know, I lost a business due to COVID in 2020, and that has hung over me since then. It's been horrendously stressful. We've had to deal with a lot since then. It's only just kind of finished, and it's nearly 4 years since COVID, nearly 5 years. So, you know, I'll talk about that on another time. But I'm in the process of rebuilding myself and becoming that person who shows up, starts businesses, does ultra marathons, looks in great shape, has a bulletproof mindset. And, you know, I'm so excited to get back to that person. But what about you guys? How to actually get started with this cold plunge? The first part is take it slowly, start gradually, begin with short durations. You don't have to have a fancy ice bath for this. You could use a wheelie bin or an old fridge or freezer. You know, there's some really cool ones. You can pick a one that I've got. I've got a Lumi one, and it was like 100 to 150 quid, something like that. So you can get this set up moderately quickly, and then find a safe spot to put it, ideally outside because water does pour out of it. And as you'll see on my first ice bath, Luna loves it and she digs up all the mud around our garden and trods it straight into the house as well. So yeah, make sure that it's in a good spot and it's not going to lead to further damage in your house. Second tip is when you're about to get in, wear flip-flops until the moment you get in. And the reason I say that is because the first 2 or 3 times I went in, I was going barefoot from the house into our garden, into the ice bath. And I was basically trodding all of the mud from the garden into the ice bath, and I couldn't figure out why it was getting so dirty. And Laura was like, "You're just dragging the mud from your feet into the ice bath." And I was like, "Oh crap, so I am." So wear your flip-flops until the moment you are about to go in. Wear your I've just changed to bathing trunks, mainly, or a bathing suit, mainly because I was wearing boxes, and I have video of my ice baths, and to be honest, I felt like everything was on show. Not that there was much to see, unfortunately, but swimming trunks are maybe a bit more appropriate if you're filming yourself like I am. And the thing I would do is film yourself, because you've no idea how more accountable you feel when you are being filmed. You're just like, well, the camera's on, I've got to get in. So I'm filming myself every single day doing this. So yeah, have a go and see what you think. Because I think it's easier if the camera's not on and you're like, well, no one will know, only you will know. I think it just adds that extra layer of accountability. Now, when you get in, again, watch my TikTok at Jody Iceman or at Dr. David Hooper. You can see me how I get in. So the first few, I get in and I just kind of stand there because it's cold on my knees. And then you have to do a second plunge where you're like your knees down to your shoulders, and it's just extra effort. What I do now is I literally go leg over, down you go. And I don't know why, but I cross my arms like this, if you're watching on YouTube, and I sink down to my shoulders, and that is really helped. It's like I'm in, and it's done, and I'm getting after it. And then just to give you an idea, I started at 2 minutes, so I did 2 minutes. Then I added a minute up until 5 minutes, so I did like 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 4 minutes, then 5 minutes. I'm quite happy at 5 minutes. I feel like I don't really need to stay in much longer than that. Anything more than 10 minutes, it's more for your ego. It's not doing anything particularly. But yeah, between 2 and 10 minutes is a good spot. And I always dunk my head after I've been in for 2 minutes, and then after another 2 minutes. You don't have to dunk your head. And a study I read was, do not stay under in cold water for any prolonged period of time. The brain should not be too cold and it should not be too hot. So you might see these people on TikTok who are trying to hold their breath in their ice bath underwater. It is incredibly dangerous. You could have an aneurysm, all sorts of things could happen. So if you do want to dunk your head, that's fine, just to wake yourself up a little bit. I do that twice in my 5 minutes. But then definitely don't hold your head under for any periods of time. And if you don't want to dunk your head under, that's absolutely fine as well. I just felt it helped me feel like a bit more awake. Then think about your breathing. Have a real control around your breathing in and out, and that's going to help you manage the initial shock of that cold water. Something I do, I breathe out like this. Like, I'm not sure why. I just do it. I suck that air in, I blow it out, and I just feel like they're really controlled breaths. So yeah, I think that is something that I would really recommend as well. Get a handle on your breathing. And then the last thing, like any habit, consistency is key, and it is crucial. Aim to incorporate cold plunges into your routine multiple times a week to reap the benefits. I'm literally doing them every single day. You don't have to do that, but I personally find it easier to keep them in if I do them every day. I can't imagine missing a day, then doing it, then missing a day, then doing it. I think that it's easier to do it every day, personally. But that's obviously up to you on that one as well. Don't feel like you have to stay in for minutes at a time immediately as well. You can just do 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 1 minute, and you're going to start to feel the benefits, but also build up that tolerance to the cold. And then you could do a couple of minutes, And then, yeah, get somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. And that is what we're going to be sticking with. So yeah, I hope that's really useful for you. But when it comes into like your daily real life applications that I want to give you, I think the first one is that stress relief. So if you've got a highly stressful job or you just feel very stressed, a daily cold plunge is a great tool to manage it, partly because it helps you stay present. So your mind isn't flying forward towards the crazy day you've got coming up. Instead, you are just in the moment and you are thinking about all the things that you've got to do at that moment to survive. Your breathing, your mindset work, and the truth is, when you're in the ice bath, it actually is really nice. When you've settled in and you're about a minute in, it's like, wow, this is peaceful. My breathing's under control. I've overcome a major barrier by sitting in this water that's really frigging cold, and you just feel at peace with the world. So stress relief, definitely something that will benefit. It'll increase your focus as well. So if you do want to boost that cognitive function, it can really benefit from that mental clarity that the cold exposure provides. So if you are just in that moment, in the cold plunge, up to your neck in really cold water, you're going to be someone who can just really narrow down their focus. And it's almost like a meditative state that you can get into. And then obviously the physical benefits. If you are a big performer, an athlete, weight trainer, whatever you do, CrossFitter, it can help speed up your recovery and overall improve your performance. So do keep that in mind as you go. Now, when I do my ice bath, I'll talk you through my morning. So my alarm goes off at 5:15. I use one of those light alarm clocks where the light gets brighter and brighter, and then that wakes me up rather than a loud alarm clock. So I wake up quite naturally. I then get up, I wash my face, I go to the toilet and I weigh in. I then go get dressed. I go downstairs. I make a cup of decaf coffee and a large juice, about a litre. It's one of these bottles that I have if you're watching on YouTube. I then go downstairs. I pop my journal on the desk and I get my camera and tripod and set it up. Luna and I then go out into the garden. I put my swimming trunks on as well. Then we go out in the garden and I'm trying to get in the ice bath by 5:30. And more for like an accountability thing, like, come on, I've got to get there as quick as possible and get it done. I'm in the ice bath for 5 minutes. After the first minute, I dunk my head. Then after the third minute, I dunk my head, roughly 2 dunks though. And then I get out, I dry myself off. I then journal and have my caffeine or my decaf coffee, and that takes me from 20 to 6 till about 6. I then go and work out at 6, and I work out from 6 till about 20 to 7. So I'm warming up gradually. I don't jump into a cold shower. I sometimes put a little heater on, especially in the gym because it's freezing in the northeast of England. And then at 6:45, I walk the dog and then come back, get showered and sorted for the day. And that's something that I've been really enjoying these past 2 weeks. I appreciate it's early. I'm going to be doing this for, like I say, the rest of my life, I think, unless humans find out this isn't a good thing, then obviously I'll change. But for now, this is my routine, and this is something that I'm seeing the benefits of. I'm feeling so much more confident. I feel like I've got an understanding around what I want my purpose to be. I've got a new business that's launching at the end of July. The podcast is still progressing, and I just feel really mentally strong and like I have taken back some control in my life, and that I am in control. One of the things that has been a constant challenge for me throughout my life is being consistent, focused, and disciplined. And I think that this is really helping me nail that down. But only time will tell, of course. But stay tuned on this journey. I'll be giving you updates on the podcast as we go. And I'm sure when I hit those key milestones, maybe like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, I'll give you another update of how the ice bath is going. But I hope this has really helped. I hope if you are struggling with your anxiety, you will have a go at some of these things, whether it's a decaf coffee, working out a little bit more, journaling, ice baths, changing your diet habits, planning and taking major action on your dreams and goals, whatever it is for you. But please get in touch with me if I can help. If you're struggling, I can give you my advice around anxiety. I've certainly been there and I'm there. So drop me a message at Dr. David Hooper on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. Please find me. Please follow me. It'd be great to connect with you. And find us on YouTube. Drop us a subscribe at Dr. David Hooper. And find us on Spotify as well under the Unstoppable Introvert Project. But please give us a rating if you've enjoyed this episode. And I really would appreciate you sharing our podcast with any introverts who you think it might help. With that in mind then, remember your introversion isn't the thing that will hold you back. It is the thing that will catapult you towards your greatest self. Until next time, stay unstoppable.